Welcome back to NFT Talks podcast. I'm here today with two lads, one local lad from Stoke, another guy from Manchester. We've got Rick and Meelo. Meelo's an artist. Rick is an NFT collector. They've both come together to create an amazing platform for artists and collectors. We're going to get into it and understand all the amazing things they're doing. But let's start. How's everyone doing, lads?
Good. Sun's shining.
Wonderful.
Busy. So
once in the UK,
life is good. For once, this is our day of summer, so enjoy it.
Yeah. Get your tops off and get the beers out.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't want to scare the neighbours. So.
Let's jump straight into it, just to hear a bit about your guys' background. Like, I mean, we can start with Meelo. Oh my God.
It's fine.
Hey, listen,
let's just crack on. Power through.
Listen, we're going to power through. We won't start again. You know, this is what it is, isn't it? It's a podcast, and I'm in the office, and the alarm keeps going off. But we're just going to keep going. We've already done this 3 times. So
was it the fire alarm?
It's the testing the fire alarm for some reason. Nobody told me. But
as long as the building's not on fire.
yeah. That's what I'm just checking. Yeah.
Let's tell the audience a bit about yourself and just your background and entering into the NFT space.
Yeah, man. So I've been an artist for as long as I can remember now, not on NFTs until sort of late 2020, early 2021. I'm a 3D artist. I've been working in the music industry for again, also as long as I can remember, back in the MySpace days and the Bebo days, like from way back then. Seen all of these social platforms come up, and when we jumped into NFTs, there was it's fun, but there's a few things that we found we might be able to change. But being an artist in the space, super exciting. It's super refreshing to be able to create off your own back and not have to use a brief and things like this. So, but yeah, man, it's that's a very nutshell of me, 3D artist. And over to you, Rick.
Yeah, so myself, I mean, I've got a lot of experience in Web2, working for digital marketing agencies and stuff like that, which is there's some transferable skills in Web3, but I'm sure anyone that knows who's already in the space, it's a steep learning curve and there's a big difference. But I started last year in the lockdown. I just wanted to start. I stumbled upon the fact that I had some crypto that I didn't realize I had, and started looking into things a bit more, and then just discovered NFTs. I think the first thing I spotted was like a guy was Sandbox Land, and it just kind of got my interest for how this digital asset and it just what that means, and it just started making sense to me pretty quick. We live in a world where people are buying skins for the computer games and stuff like that. But it's all centralized. Then you've got like road tax, like here in the UK, you don't have a tax disc in your car like you used to. It's all digital. To me, that's an NFT, but essentially, that's centralized, and it was all starting to fall into place quite quick. And then I started just looking into it more and more, discovered a little platform called Hen, which I thought was hilarious at first because it's like hic et nunc or something like that. Like my Latin's not great, so don't kill me for pronunciation. But it was one of them things that I laughed at first, and a lot of people did, because of just this. It was all a bit weird and wacky, and then all of a sudden it was like, wow, man, like there's some real artists on here really putting work in, and I just fell in love with it. It was that turned into. I mean, I was doing consultancy work at the time, and it was obviously with lockdown, everything was dry. But I just started just full-time collecting and, investing, finding right times to flip and stuff like that, which I had decent success with Hen and really enjoyed it. But like I say, it's a full-time job. You've got to sit there trawling through Twitter constantly seeking past engagement tweets and stuff like that. And around this time, me and Meelo started discussing our different problems that we're both facing. And that's kind of where DropHook was born.
Yeah, coming from a Web2 background, I feel there's that in between. You get a lot of people push back from the Web2 background. Push back. So, you said you understood it. It made sense to you. Friends, maybe you've worked with. Do they push back? Do they say like we think this is nonsense? And why do you think they have that kind of look on the NFT space or the Web3 space at the moment?
Question. So What's weird to, I mean, there's a few things. One of them, like, I was kind of looking, I remember about 10 years ago, maybe 12, there was a conversation around mobile, and people in Web2 agencies were like, mobile's the next big thing. But the man on the street was like, you never use your mobile to shop. And it's like, it's so weird to me that my peers from back then, when I speak to them now about Web3, that why have they not kept up with this curve? You know, it's so, I can't fathom it. Like, why these people that were so switched on 10 years ago have got stuck in the ways now. And, you know, I think with any kind of this, the majority of people like to get comfortable, stay where they are. If anything changes, that's seen as a threat. Where I think what you'll find is if you took a snapshot right now of people in Web3, were people that embrace change and are aware that there's always constantly change. Now it's very easy to kind of, once you get comfortable, when you're a young buck, you need change because you need to overthrow the old guard. That's how life works. Yeah. But when you become the guy yourself, then change can be a bit scary unless you're prepared to take on the challenge. So that's my kind of take on it, is that just how humans work. Do you know what I mean? But and you know, it's not great either that like I watched a few YouTube videos the other day just to try and understand why people get so mad over NFTs. And one of the big problems is your cartoon animal projects. People think NFT means JPEG of a cartoon animal. Now, I don't know if you've seen the South Park specials on NFTs. If you haven't, you need to watch them. You need to watch them. It's basically 2 hours of NFTs a Ponzi, because this guy's going around, I won't ruin it for you. Yeah. But at the end, someone just says, yeah, they make total sense for science, for technology and blah, 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 blah. But, you know, it's all the bullshit that goes with it. And that's what it feels like at the moment. Is the real core value is this little 1%, but 99% of the noise is buy this JPEG, you're going to be rich. Now that's mental. So I feel like once this hype dies off, which it looks like it is doing, the real value is going to start coming through. And you can't deny technological advances. At first, people laugh at them and power them off, but sooner or later it's going to happen. Like I say, your car tax is already, could be argued as a form of it's a digital receipt. You know, like you've got so many things. We live in the digital world already. Our time's all spent online on social media. People's social groups are made up online. So, you know, like it can't go any other way but forward. So, you know, that's...
Now that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, I want to hear from your perspective, Meelo, like coming in as a graphic design artist, like was there any pushback on your side, or friends or people that have seen what you're doing now? Because I mean, you've had success, because I'd say the minute you can sell an NFT, that's some sort of success.
Especially in today's market, for sure. But yeah, like it was a weird one, because, you know, I think with an artist journeys, it's a bit different than like, you know, like from a collector point of view, like everyone can do that, if you know what I'm saying. So it's like, you say, oh yeah, you want to collect this. And that's where I think the noise is coming from, is that like, I remember just as an example, like probably about a year ago now, I was in the barbershop and everything had just kicked off and everyone was finding out about NFTs and things like this. And it was like, I went into the barbershop, and I kept my mouth closed. And I listened to what everyone else was saying around the barbershop about NFTs and crypto and things like this. Like, yo, I made 10 grand last night, bro. And it was like, it was so money based that like, it felt weird for me sitting there thinking that like, realistically, yeah, the making sales and, you know, people collecting your work and getting the monetary value is okay. But like for me as an artist, what it allowed me to do is like, not only validate myself in like the work that I've been producing for years and years and years for clients, is to say, you know, can I make it for myself and are my ideas good, rather than just keep working off this brief. That's the real value for me. And I think like I don't really get any pushbacks from like my friends or family and stuff, but more so of like the money of like, oh, it seems really easy, like, oh, you're just selling your art and make it. And it's like, I think the only pushback was a bit like, so why would people buy it? Why would people buy it? And it's like, I've never really like gone down the route of explaining, you know, the reason it's valued at this is because it's what I've always said is like, I've done like 15 years worth of work that you haven't seen. Like, you haven't seen any of it. Do you know what I'm saying? And it's like, this is an opportunity for people like me who've been working behind the scenes and in the shadows, and for really big music clients, and seeing our work up on stages and billboards and things like this for the past 10 years. Now when you come and claim it yourself, I think they're the only pushbacks of like, people think, oh, where have you just come from? And it's like, if you really saw my journey, you would understand not only why I am who I am, but also why I'm here. Do you know what I mean? To make a change and to get my royalties and to, build my own communities and things like this. So I don't think there's been any major pushbacks, directly. It's been more of just the mental issues of like being on socials all day and things like this. I think they're the only drawbacks from an artist, is if you take this too seriously and think that you're gonna make £1 million tomorrow and then you don't, there's a bit of a pushback there from yourself. But I think it's more from like Rick's side, the collector side of like, there's a lot more pushbacks from the normal people getting into that side of things, because I think when I've spoken to an artist, once they get past the environmental issues, it's like, oh, right, okay, sweet. Like I spoke to a lady in the Apple shop one time, I bought a phone. She's, oh, what do you do? And I was like, I'm an NFT. Well, I'm an artist, but I've been selling NFTs. She's like, oh, aren't they really bad for the environment? Yeah. And I was like, well, I mean, certain ones could be, but she was an illustrator. And then like by the time that I'd walked out, she was like, oh, you'll have to follow me on Instagram and let me know about how I can sell my illustrations and stuff. So I think for artists, like there isn't many pushbacks, because we're the driving force, we're the product, you know what I mean? And it's like, it's the other side that has a lot of the issues. I mean, there is still issues with an artist, but not direct pushbacks from the public or anyone like that, I don't think. Just the environmental guys that don't do the research enough.
That's one thing. But I mean, the one thing you mentioned earlier on, just what I'm going to touch on, is the question of why do you buy it? Like, the market decides whether something's valuable. Like, people don't question, why do people collect stamps or spend money on expensive cars or Rolexes? Like, it's still a piece of material and it's valued because the market decides it's worth that much. And if people buy it, then that's what you'll sell it for. So why is there a question? I mean, no one questions viral. The people that go viral and then they make millions of going viral, and then they've got nothing behind them. So I always think,
it's also brand as well. It's like you say Rolex, it's like they've got hundreds of years of history, do you know what I mean? Which just gives them those value. And it's like, to expect, someone to, again, I've got a lot of experience. I've worked with a lot of big clients that I've never really shouted about and things like this. And when I've come to this space, I've kept it humble, and I've just, tried to tell my story a little bit. And, as I continue through the space, I will continue to tell more details about my story and about who I am. And I think that's the exciting thing, is that like all the people that we're buying from right now, or we're seeing in the space, we don't really know them that well. And it's like, when you look at normal art galleries, you go and you see these pieces on the wall that we all know, and we all know everything about these people. And I think that's what will inherit value in the work of that, like who we become. Do you know what I mean? Of like, as artists, like not only who we've been and the clients that we've worked with before, but in this space, like how relevant are we, and what are we doing? Are we building? Are we just putting out loads of art until it doesn't sell anymore and disappeared? Like, I think there's a lot of things that artists can do to answer that question and say, why would I buy this? I say, I'll tell you exactly why. Do you know what I mean? Like, not only because I've worked my ass off to get to this point where I can create my work for you, but also, create a good quality piece that not only you would enjoy, but everyone else can sort of look at it as well. So yeah, man, I think it's an interesting space for the artist for sure.
I'm going to ask you a question. Both of you can probably give me an answer on this, and you might be covering it with the platform, which we'll go into. But things have changed over the last year, like within the space. You mentioned earlier on, people enter the space to buy art to make money, buying NFTs to make money. Now, as an artist, as a starving artist, as you call them, they're seeing all this success of artists like yourself and UK artists and Ferocious and whatnot, selling pieces for millions of dollars. So they're coming in thinking, well, this is a way for me to make money. But there's still work to be done. You know what I mean? You don't just come in here and say, okay, here I am, everyone buy off me. It didn't work in the real world. It's still not, it doesn't mean it's going to work in the digital realm. So what challenges do artists face now? And what kind of things do they have to do differently, maybe to what you had done? Because maybe when you entered the space, it wasn't as saturated, there wasn't as many people, there wasn't as much noise, it was much more calmer. Now there's everything going around NFTs. what advice would you give to an artist or strategy wise?
Again, I'll let Rick answer this after me as well, because I think his points will be super valid from a collector side of things. But for an artist, I would say, like, treat this like a business. Do you know what I mean? Like, I you know, coming into the space, it's like you've only got so many hours in the day. Like, use your hours to your advantage, and it's not always like what someone else is doing or like working on your art. Like, there's been many times where I've like stopped to do my Twitter and things and be like, right, I need to focus on my art. I want to make a piece of art. People are waiting for some art, and I'm going to make some art. And I make some art, and I come back to Twitter, and there's nobody there. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, just try and prioritize, you know, your strategy in a way to actually make sense, rather than it just being like, right, I'm gonna do what he does, and then like I'm gonna jump back on here, or I'll go over to Discord, I'll make a Discord, I'll make a website. Like, make a plan as if you're a business, because you are now. And when I entered the space, I seen people selling crazy pieces for crazy money, and it was like people were just buying an NFT because it was a token, and they were getting the first ones in the wave. But like now that, like you say, the market has become a bit more saturated, it's good in a way because there's more eyes, but it's harder because you've got to cut through the noise. So like, making a piece of art and then putting it on Twitter like isn't good enough anymore. You've got to, you know, talk about the story. And when NFTs first started, I think you probably remember, like, all the NFTs have got massive stories next to them, and everyone kept making a joke about them. And now none of the NFTs have got any stories. It's like a mini one-liner description. They're like, oh, this is like, do you know what I mean? It's like, it's changed from being all this super arty farty, like, oh, you know, look at this, read about this, this is why it's got that color. And now it's just sort of like they're sticking it out there and expecting that people are just going to buy it because it's an NFT. And it's like, no, let's draw back to the baseline, and your NFT is a piece of art. So market that piece of art like you were like you would do in the real world. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, you don't have to go to galleries and do things like that, but, you know, understand the realm that you're in, and present your art in the best possible format to hit where you want it to hit. Like, just throwing it out there right now isn't going to do the job. But, you know, again, this is a reply for Rick, because he's from the collector side of things. And
I'd like to hear that, Rick. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, we did a little poll last night, and I was pretty surprised at the answer. And the question was, what's more important in art? Is it the concept or is it the design? To me, it's the concept every time. But it was like 60% of people said the design, like the end result. Now, if you're just kind of putting out art and you don't know that as a collector, you're looking at something and you don't know the story, you don't know the concept behind it. Now, to me, I'm like a massive, I don't know if you know the story of Marcel Duchamp.
No.
Oh, wow, what a guy. So he basically, I'm going to give it you in a nutshell, but you need to look into this guy. So basically, he's like, I mean, he did all sorts of crazy shit. In World War II, he snuck back into occupied Germany, Nazi-occupied France as a cheese merchant to smuggle art back out that was their art. And they snuck it back out. The guy was crazy, So I'm going to try and give you the short version. He had a gallery that he set up. He had a magazine that he set up. And at the time, I think it was like around 1920, but, you know, gun to my head, I still wouldn't be 100% on that exact date. But at the time, there was art curators, and they were dictating how art should be. And his argument had been, and always was, like, the artist should decide, like, it shouldn't be a set group of people who decide that that's art, that isn't. So bearing in mind, he had all these moving parts, Now, they did at his gallery, they did an exhibition, and the deal was, if you paid your subs to the gallery, then whatever you decided went in there was to be a piece of art, So someone put a toilet, a lavatory, a latrine, or whatever you call it, on its side, and it was signed by Arm Up. Now, people kicked off left, right, and centre. The art critics, the art world were like, it's too provocative, it's this, it's that, it's not. Sorry, it's not real art. It's this and the other. Like, so he resigned. He made a big thing about it. Then he used his magazine to push this forward. Now, no one gave a shit really until he pushed it forward. Then it became national news to the everyman in the street, and the question was, what's art, what isn't, and who decides what art is? So he created this whole question and literally changed the narrative of you know, like, he asked a brand new question. Like, and you're looking at art history. that was a big pivoting point. Now, the twist is, it turns out that our mutt was actually him. So you've got to ask yourself how much of that he orchestrated, and I'd say pretty much all of it. To me, the objects at the end, now there's been essays, there's been thesis wrote on this latrine and what it represents to me, this, that, and the other. It could have been a coffee mug for all I care. It could have been an empty pallet. The art was that whole fucking, pardon my French, it was that whole story. Yeah, it was that whole thing. That was the art. That was what ideas were expressed. You know what I mean? And this is what I agree with, is that the art is the idea, and anything after that's kind of secondary. Do you know what I mean? Anything in my words, the art's the idea, anything after that's labor and materials. Yeah. So we're seeing this digital, like we're seeing what coming through now. As a collector, I want to understand what that visualization is, the end result of what. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is it? Or is it just, are you just a really good graphic designer and you're really good at looking at someone else's style and kind of twisting it and putting your own on it? Or have you had an original thought and now you're expressing that? Like, for me, that's what I need to see for a piece to really think. And sometimes you can see it without hearing the story, but sometimes you need to hear the story too. So yeah, for me, that's a big point for me.
It's made me think, maybe it's a case of, it depends on, artists need to consider their collector. Think of who you're selling to, because there may be a collector just who appreciates the end result. And if you're,
this is only my opinion.
Yeah, exactly. If you can find that collector, that makes sense. However, I would say the biggest pieces that have been sold as NFTs, as always, have had stories behind it. Beeple, ferocious piece. You've had Krista Kim with the digital house. I mean, I had her on the podcast, and she told me the reason why she got it sold. She spoke to the collector and gave him a story behind the concept behind the house, and that's what made him buy it. So once again, to the biggest pieces being sold, there's always been some concept story behind it. So
just as a small point on that as well, I think is a weird industry secret that not a lot of people know, is that a lot of these pieces that you see selling for a lot of money, like, they were sold before they got minted. Like, these aren't just, people don't stick things out onto Super Rare and then some guy walks up and pays £500,000 for it. Like, that's not the way things work. Like, when you see that happening, not all the time, but I'd probably say that, like 80% of the time, that's either been prearranged, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. This is just like, having a buyer of your art. If you're a painter in the real world currently, he's going to keep coming back and say, can you paint me this? Or what about this? This is a cool idea. And you're going to paint it. Like, there's no issues with that, but it causes a crazy journey when you think that this guy has just made a piece of art randomly in his bedroom and put it out online, and someone's paid £500,000 for it. Like, I mean, back in 2021, early 2021, that was happening. But like, now, these are all relationships that have been built and that have been worked on, and that piece is going there and it's used for this. And it's like, don't always look at the face value of what you see on socials, or, some people say, oh, I've just sold out. And some people might have bought like the last two themselves just to post that. And it's like, don't like, there's always a story behind everything, whether it's the art, whether it's the sale, whether it's the promotion, the marketing, the PR, anything like that. Don't always take it for face value, because, it's nothing that they're trying to smoke and mirrors you. But sometimes that box on Twitter ain't big enough to explain how I sold this piece. And sometimes you don't want to say, so yeah, think about the piece that you're creating and who you would like to hold it. Like, not who you'd like to buy it because they have got money, but like, by your piece being in their collection, what does that mean for you? Like, think about who you'd like to sell that piece. If you made an invention and you got two guys on the street and they both say, I'll give you £10 for it, do you give it to the guy who's going to go throw it in the bin, or your guy who's going to go show more investors? Like, you sell it to this guy, and just try and figure that one out for yourself when you're creating this art. And if you get into the point where you're throwing it out on Twitter and you haven't shown anybody and nobody knows about it, then don't expect to make a quick turnaround sale. Do you know what I mean? You've got a promo and let people know exactly who you are, what it is that you're creating, and why ultimately.
Okay, so we talked about a few things: target audience, marketing, concept, stories. There's so many platforms out there already. Like, we've got the OpenSeas, Wearable. super rare, foundation, depending on what, and I guess you'll go to these platforms depending on what kind of collection you want to sell to also. But obviously I want to go into looking what you guys are doing. Obviously DropHook. So obviously it's built by the artist for the collector. So I like that side of it. First, tell me why you guys felt that needed to build another platform, because there's plenty out there. However,
they're not doing it like they're not doing it like us, that's for sure. I'll tell you now, they ain't doing it like us. You've got marketplaces, they serve a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know, and for us, there's varying services that, you know, like for instance, OpenSea is literally an OpenSea, like they nailed the name, that's for sure. Let's just leave it at that, you know. So and then you've got your kind of your super rares and stuff like that, which you know, again, they're curated by a small group, and you know, they definitely serve a purpose and all that. And then we're not competing with them. Then they are not our competition at all. If anything, we're helping bring some value to the whole industry, which will then ripple out to those guys. You know, we're already got good working relationships with the likes of Known Origin, Rareable, Red Kite. I don't know if you know much about those guys, but quite new. But they are working with traditional graffiti artists like Ben Ein. Meelo always laughs at me because I can never pronounce the guy's name, but Fanakapan. Nailed it. Yeah, so a lot of really cool street artists, and they're bringing those guys on. We work with them, they're not competition. Our competition would be your drop calendars of sorts, but at the moment I'd like to see a drop calendar that doesn't just take large amounts of ETH to appear. They'll accept anyone on the calendar. So me as a collector, and this is literally part of my journey. When I first started out, I thought, well, common sense, you know, like you've got if I want to buy sneakers, I know which sites to go to. So surely there's got to be drop calendars for art. And I was looking, and I had started getting a bit clued up about things. And I'm thinking, I know like Fuck Render's dropping this week. I know Kid 8's dropping this week. I know X. Like all these guys are dropping. None of them are listed. You're showing me a JPEG of a bird or something, like what is this? Do you know what I mean? So You know why that is? That's because all they're interested in is who's going to pay them the most money to feature on the calendars. Now, as someone who's a bit more advanced now, I don't want to be seeing that. As someone who's new to the space, that's dangerous. That's really, really, really damaging to the space, because you come on, you think these guys have come across with some authority and they've shown me this, I've bought it, and I've just bought a pump and dump, basically, or you know what I mean? So they would possibly be our competition in a different world, but you know, our focus is to bring a drop calendar, which is like the end result of everything we're doing behind the scenes, but do it with integrity. So artists, primarily going to be artists. We'll have some collections on there, but only the guys that are good actors in the space.
So what are you? Sorry to cut you. I just want to know something. So are you curating these artists, or are they paying to get on there at a lower entry point? What is it?
We're not charging artists to get on the site.
So how do they get on the site? Can anybody get on there?
So initially, we're because we're still in the beta testing phase, we're picking the artists at the moment, which we've got to do. We've got to kind of have some balance to it for now. In the medium term, I'd say the short term, but pretty soon, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be releasing an NFT token, and with that token, you're allowed to vote on who comes onto the site. So what we're doing there is we are creating a way that's the balance between, one, it being complete open chaos, and two, being controlled by a closed group. Like, we don't want that responsibility to be, you know what I mean? Otherwise, we just become a drop calendar, but we fall too much on the side of being, you know, the tastemakers, which isn't what Web3 is about. We want to go, you know, like, here's 1,000 people, here's 500 people, whatever it is. Those people we'll pick. The artists that come and apply will look and go, anyone that's obviously a bad actor in the space, we won't even show them to get voted on. Like, you know, there's ways you can tell with these things a lot. The rest, we're going to put them open to votes. So does this person get on? Does that person get on?
Just clarify that, Rick, is the token, people buy, how many tokens are there? and then I'm assuming it's a community, the people that are on the site, the collectors and the artists that are voting to see who they want to see on the drop. Is that right?
Well, voting to see who's on the site.
Who CEOs on the site. So then
Yeah.
my question to that is just a challenge that you may not see as a challenge, but how do you, because if it's just you onboard the UK, then potentially you may only get a certain type of artists, location based, depending on which crowd you've got. Like, how are you going to broaden the aspect of getting other people on if they have the choice? Does that make sense? Well, I'm asking that.
Yeah, I'll just jump in here as well, because I think this is part of like the token that we're going to release. Is to solve this point exactly. We're just in the UK, bro. Do you know what I mean? And we've got you've seen the gallery, like we've got a lot of things going on for us right now. And I'm an artist, Rick's a collector, and ultimately the point of this platform is to help everyone to still carry on their day-to-day collecting or creating, but also continue to build as well, because how much time this takes up of your day. You know what I mean? Whether it's the mornings, the evenings, the weekends, the lot, like they all just disappear. And here we are now in May again, and it felt like years just disappeared. So it's like the point of creating this platform is to sort of free up everybody's time. And by allowing think of it like this: the marketplaces have curators. So Super Rare's got a set of curators, Nifty's got a set of curators, Rareable, etc., etc. They've all got curators. So for us to try and take on, even with our current team of like 6, like even if we were to scale it up to 60, like it's a lot of people to get through, like, because we're not just covering the UK, and also we're not just covering Rareable, like we're covering all of the marketplaces and as many blockchains as we possibly can. So when we get to the point where we've got, say, 1,000 artists on here, like not only is it going to be super hard to move them around the site and let certain drops be featured and populate the homepage and things like this, but also that, just like Super Rare did last year, the applications are going to like stack up and stack up and stack up to the point where people right now are getting accepted from applications that they put in 12 months ago. And I think that it's been a big slowdown for Super Rare. Super Rare, the team's amazing and the platform is one of the best. But that period, like everyone started hating on Super Rare. Oh, I can't get on there and things like this. So in that moment, I thought, well, all of the artists that are currently on there and have met that process already, there should be a small amount of those guys that are either handpicked or given the opportunity to say, like, you're really, really, really good actors. Like, would you take an hour out of your week to just go ching, 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 and see these people? Like, they might be guys, they might be brand new people, but we're going to shortlist these guys. So by offering these tokens out, you asked for price and quantity. We haven't got down to that stage yet. Again, we're just trying to make sure that it's not too expensive, but we're not cutting ourselves short, because again, we have got the gallery and things like this that we're gonna announce. But by allowing artists and collectors to have their say, it's almost like it becomes a community before you get to the marketplaces. So Super Rare could potentially look at DropHook and say, well, if he's on DropHook, he meets check 1, so we haven't got to check that. And I think if the artists and collectors are the guys who are curating that, it's basically the same users that are on Super Rare and Nifty and Rareable in these places anyway. So the artists and collectors the platform's open to collectors anyway. Like, any collector can come on, but it's only limited to artists. So we're hoping that by putting those tokens in place, we not only get a massive variety from all marketplaces of like Rareable guys who do this plus this plus this plus that. So like a mini ecosystem of Rareable, but each one of those for marketplaces, and then stretched out across the world, because we can't find everybody, bro. Do you know what I mean? And
No, I hear that.
Can you imagine a platform that's got let's just say 1,000 curators that every single day are letting people through to get shortlisted and voting on features that we're going to build? It's like, it's almost a big hub before you go to the marketplace. So when a new artist comes on and they're really, really good, but don't have that much social traction, they can come on to DropHook and we'll say, right, what sort of collector are you looking for? Right, I'm looking for this kind. And we'll say, right, sweet, no problem. Do you know what I mean? And then straight away, they've got an avenue that they can do exactly what we spoke about 20 minutes ago about, like, how do you try and get a collector, or how do you find collectors that like your work? Like, we're trying to be that middle hub before you go off into the wild west of NFTs to say, right, this is what you've got. You're a really good artist. All these artists say so. All these collectors say so. So now you're basically in the space now. So you've just got to get your work out there with the story, and that's your best shot right now, rather than throwing it on Twitter and doing none of that. So that curation ticket, I went off a bit of a tangent there, but
it makes sense, like what you're saying there now. Like, it seems almost like I see you guys an onboarding / creating a portfolio, getting you ready for the big world of the NFT space, to say that, okay, then now you're more fit for that market, and you've got your package to offer there. So it may make it easier for these other marketplaces to pick people to come in. Is that right?
And we're also priming them for sales. So for a collector to come in to see this new artist that they've never heard of, they could have been here for 10 years. They've never heard of him because of the noise. You know what I mean? You found him, you really like his work. Oh, he's on Super Rare. Oh, he's got a known origin drop coming up soon. Like, we're priming people for sales. So by coming on to DropHook, you're not only being given the opportunity where we're going to market you to the right collectors based on not only what we think, plus you're getting the validation of artists and collectors to even get accepted onto the platform. So it's like a big family then, almost. It's like, right, okay, well, this is the best. This is a launch pad almost for a bit of, like, for artists. It can be seen as a launch pad to say, right, well, I'm putting now that. So you load up your drop and you can see how many people like it and have saved it. It's motivation. I'm working on my drop and I'm like, right, 5 more collectors have just found me and want to get my next drop. And it's like, right now, that does not exist. Like, you can't find this information. It's like, even some of my collectors I've made art for, and then, like, when I've released it, I've been like, where are they? And it's like, they don't need to come back. Do you know what I mean? Like, I need more new ones. I need, like, people who are discovering me. And at the moment, it's like that discovery process is so hard that most don't even do it. So we're trying to build a bit of a launch pad for new artists. We're trying to provide a space where currently thriving artists can still connect with their collectors through all the ETH noise and the chart noise and everything else that's going on right now. But and then also for the collectors, it gives them like a massive playground to say, right, do I want to keep up with the guys I'm already buying, or do I want to go on a bit of a journey and find some new guys? And maybe that's on a different marketplace. Maybe that's on Rarible this week.
Right. That's a valid point, guys. That I don't think it's a place where collectors can go. Maybe you can answer this. Is a place where collectors can go and say, I can find a bunch of artists where I can see all the platforms are on, what type of work they do, broken down almost like a profile of an artist. So you can say, I like, even if you haven't heard of the artist, you can kind of suss out where their work is going, and you can check their drops. So that makes sense. That's something that's very interesting. I haven't seen at all. So okay. So is there anything you want to add to that, Rick?
Oh, that's pretty much. I think Meelo's covered most things there. But one thing I will say as well is finding new artists, but also one of the big struggles is keeping up to date with me current artists that I like buying from. Like I say, we haven't always got time to troll through Discord and get my Discord's crazy. It was causing me anxiety attacks at one point. I had to switch. I don't have notifications on Discord. I look at it because I look at it that much anyway. Like, for it to be pinging when I'm spending that 1 minute of my day not on it, like I have, and it's just so much. Like, I'm looking, it's on the thing now, like 15 messages, 15 alerts from known origin, like, this and the other, like, what is going on? So I just want to think, right, like, I follow this artist. So, all right, he might not be doing a drop, or he might be. I want to know about it. And again, marketplace agnostic. I need to know if he's decided he's doing something on Hens today, or it's going to be through Rarible, or maybe he's got a nifty coming up. Like, I'm interested in the artist, so I want to know what they're doing. And it might not be a drop. It might be something to do with the project, and there's some kind of airdrop coming up or something like that. It doesn't all have to be about pushing the primary sales. It can be like like stuff like that. And like a podcast like yourself, like you might have a podcast coming up, and I want to know what podcasts you've got coming up. So I want to go to DropHook and I want to see what you're posting, but also the artist should be posting them too, because to get the up-to-date information that the artist is actually doing, there's like hitting podcasts and stuff like that's the perfect thing. So just making sure there's that as well, and like Meelo said, like making it sure, like opening up people's eyes to new opportunities too.
I guess it is a lot when you really think about it. And I'm sure, obviously, Milo's quite good because I see you're always active on Twitter. but like,
I try my best.
Yeah, well, being as an artist, I guess to get if you've got a drop going up and you've been spending all this time doing the work 2 or 3 days out, week, so how long it takes you to do this work, and then now you've done that, now I've got to go and sell it, and I've got to let everyone know that I've got it out there. And if that isn't you by nature, to be on Twitter talking every minute, reaching out to people, then going onto that platform and that, it's going to be overwhelming. It's a lot. And if you've got to do that for each marketplace, then that's a lot too also. So if you've got one place to go to where the infrastructure is already set up, you can kind of input and say, this is what I'm doing, guys, give an update. Collectors, it's for the collectors, so the collectors are going to come and find you. It makes the process a lot easier. And I think that's what's needed within the NFT space is tools and platforms that's going to make things easier for people.
Yeah. For sure, mate. When I first came to the space last year, when I was selling my art, creating my art, I got a checklist of things that I needed to do. And it was like post on Twitter, post on Discord, message my collectors. They were like 3 things that were like core things that you had to do. And that was because everyone was in this ball, right? Mm-hmm. And now this year, everyone's like spread out and becoming like their own little balls. So now this checklist is like this long, do you know what I mean? So it's like, we saw this platform as a way to say, right, this big checklist, we'll deal with that by creating a central point. So we'll bring everyone back into this middle ground to say, right, you just tick off this checklist and put your drop information on, and you can do whatever you want for the next 5 days. Like, announce that you're going to do a drop, put some placeholders in there, let everyone know something's coming, go and spend a week working on your work, and we will push this thing like naturally as a platform, and us doing our DropHook socials, we'll push this thing as well as, because it's there on the side, your collectors will see it. So it's going to free up like that anxiety, that big list of like, okay, well, now that I've finished my work, now I've got to go and sell it. We're trying to put this platform in the right spot to say, tell people you're going to make some work to sell, and we'll sell it while you go and create it. Do you know what I mean? Send it, you can edit your drop and put more macro shots and some whips, some behind the scenes footage, because this is the story. And if we go and speak to a collector and say, did you know Meelo's dropping like at the end of this month? He said, no, I didn't. What's he working on? Say, well, he hasn't released what it is yet, but if you go to the drop page, you can subscribe to it. And when he puts these updates in, you'll get him. It's like, oh, I want to be in on this journey, man, because when I see that final piece, it's like, I feel a part of it. And I think that's what's missing right now, is that human emotion of like, I love collecting, I love art, but me just hitting buy on something, it doesn't satisfy that. You know what I mean? It's like going to a Formula 1 race and just watching the last lap. Like, I want to see the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to see him just line up. I want to see the pit stops. I want to see everything. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man. That, and just as a last point, we've built this off our own backs. Like, nobody told us to do it. No one asked us to do it. Like, we found some issues within the market that have even now becoming more and more relevant, of like, the space is getting noisier and about different things, and it's breaking off into mini genres and things like this. Like, we built this off our own back to try and help this space move forward. Do you know what I mean? And to help collectors find great artists and help artists find great collectors. So, this is, well, for us, it's super. We're super proud of what we built and what we're trying to do. And with the tokens, to allow people to curate, should solve everyone's crying on Twitter, like, oh, they won't let me on. Like, oh, well, you have a say. You know what I mean? Like, you see if that's the crack. So, I also want this to, just from a personal point for me as an artist, is like to show other artists that like creating isn't just making art. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you've come to a space that has been very, very good to most people. Like, I can, pretty much guarantee that everyone who came at late 2020 or the first half of 2021 made quite a lot of money, like money that artists don't really see that much. You know what I mean? So I want this to be a bit of a, not necessarily an inspiration, but an example of like, make a change. You know what I mean? If your Discord ain't working, like, do something to it. Do you know what I mean? Don't just accept that it's dead. Do something to it, whether that's get rid of it, keep it, change it, like whatever it is. You can build in this space because we're so early. And like, when I've grown up through MySpace, Bebo, Facebook, and all these emerging things, Tumblr, and seen these things, Vine, come and go, and understood like why they come and go. Like, this isn't going to be the same next year. And if you don't grow and build and adapt, like you will be that guy who's on Twitter saying, why did I never sell my art, man? This NFT stuff, Like, build, man. You know what I mean? Like grind with it, because this space moves super fast. And if you make one sale and get comfortable, man, you'll get left behind for sure. So of artists out there, do some work, man.
Are you guys building a marketplace alongside what you're doing?
No, so this
solely a platform solely for what you're talking about.
Yes. So this is, I think this is the common misconception, I think, with us, because when people say platform, they think marketplace, and that's the easiest way to generate revenue for a dev or something. Oh, I'm going to build a marketplace, I'm going to take the top off the sales. Like, we have no interest in doing this. You know, I mean, obviously we have to create revenue for the business to make sure that we can keep developing features and what we've got going on with the gallery and things. But like ultimately, like we're trying to figure out, well, we figured out a way that we can keep this like pretty clean on the front end and just like generate bits of revenue here and there. Do you know what I mean? So we're not a marketplace. You're not going to be able to mint on DropHook when we launch. It's purely to prime these marketplaces. So Rareable, Known Origin, Super Rare, Nifty Gateway, Hen. Yeah, well, you'll thank us in 6 months, man. When people turn up to your marketplace, actually knowing what they want to buy and not just like scrolling through your homepage and thinking, you know, because you know that's all artists have got right now, man. You go to Super Rare and you think it's a golden ticket to sale, but unless they market you and put you on the homepage, like you're just still hidden like everybody else is. So, you know, we're trying to build Super Rare its own homepage on DropHook, and you know, like get this middle ground popping, so the marketplaces can be marketplaces, you know, and not talent scouts so much. So yeah, man.
I want to flip it on its head, lads. Like Rick, I want to talk to you about being you're caught for the artist side of it. Now, the onboarding process as a collector who's interested in NFTs, but doesn't really know what it is and tell me about their journey in regards to using you guys and what you guys doing to assist them to get them on board.
Yeah, so I mean, at the moment, it's this thing of people, you know, people want to buy. Everyone, I think a lot of people are. This new movement with NFTs, a lot of people are interested in art. I've always had an interest in art, and it's just, you know, it's just where do you start? You know, but this kind of opens things up a lot, and the transactions are a lot easier because everything's digital and stuff like that. So there is a lot of people out there that want to get into the space, not to buy a JPEG of a cat or something, but or you know, nothing. But, you know, like this next pump and dump thing, and it's just separating those things. Like, how do you tell the difference when you're brand new? You don't know what you're looking at. Again, it goes back to a lot of the stuff we've covered, like the story behind it. Like, is it just some devs that have got together and paid an artist on Fiverr, and is that the story? Not a great one, but a lot of the times that's what the story is. So the way we want to build this is, the end result is someone comes to you, Sean, and says, I want to get into NFTs. Where do we start? Now, you've got your own things going on, but we want you to be comfortable enough to just go to DropHook. They'll deal with that. They'll help you through that. So for the seasoned collector, we want it to be, the tools are super sharp, you know, like it's almost like you start your day with DropHook. You look at what we've got going on. It's your planner for the NFT space. For someone new, they understand that, although they might, you know, like you can't guarantee anyone's going to buy and sell to make money. And, you know, like if that's purely what you're about, go and read up on shit coins and stuff like that. And best of luck to you. But, you know, if you genuinely want to buy art, you've got an interest in your money and don't want to just not care about what you're buying and have a bit of a concern that some of this is going to be investments and why not, that at least your decisions are based on buying actual art from actual artists. Now, that's power in itself, you know, and you know, that's how we want to kind of frame it. But a lot of it's going to be about educating and telling people and explaining to people like what the difference is. You know, we've got content being made as we speak that kind of covers that from a base level. So, and just working and kind of working up from there. So that's I think I answered your question anyway.
Is there going to be like a filter process, which if you haven't thought of this, it'd be good to add, is like a filter process in regards to, I want to search for 3D art, pixel art, or even
it's already there, brother.
Yeah, okay, just
so you can
make sure, or even the price entry. I've only got this much amount to spend, so I want an artist that is only making a drop within this amount, even that side of it.
So at the moment, currently on the beta, you can sort between currency, so ETH, Matic, FTM, BNB, Solana, and Tezos.
Mhm.
Design style, which is 3D animation, abstract, geometric, all this other stuff. NFT type, which is single edition, multiple edition, collectible, generative, things like this. And then you can search for marketplace. We want to open these filters up to like as many as possible. Do you know what I mean? Of like, because we've got in the beta now, we're coming up to about 70 artists, so we're looking all right on the beta. But when we start to get these curation passes out, we want like to be onboarding 25, 30 artists a day. Do you know what I mean? We want a lot. We can't supply our collectors with good quality information if there's only 100 artists. Like, we need everybody who's like serious about this and who's doing big bits to be able to say, right, you fill out all these things, and you as a collector, Sean, can come on and say, right, I'm looking for something for Tezos today, looking for 3D multiple edition on objects. Boom. Like, you can't get that from objects. Like, you can't, bro. Do you know what I mean? And I think this is, and when you see there's no drops found, you're thinking, right, well, I've got my niche that isn't being filled right now. Do you know what I mean? And this is where you as a collector could get the curation token and say, right, I'm gonna put on some of my hen guys, like some of the dudes that I collect from aren't on here yet, so I'm gonna get them through. And we're here to build and to grow as a community, rather than, me and Rick are obviously CEOs of the company, but we don't want to be CEOs of the platform. Do you know what I mean? We want this platform to be molded into what everybody feels it needs to become to continue solving the solution as future moves forward. So it's different. It's not a marketplace. It's not a data aggregation site. It's not just pulling stuff from OpenSea and telling you how much percentage it's gone up or down by. Like, this is for artists and collectors to really knuckle down and get to what they want to find or see or research.
No, I like it, man. And the thing I like about it is that the fact that I know that this is going to be needed, not just for artists. I know it's artist focus at the moment, but this is going to be needed for photographers, musicians, anybody creative. They're going to need this platform.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
We built it from artists natively, because I'm like twisting Rick's arm every day saying, artists. But you were when we met you, Sean, when we was down in London that day, like, we were building DropHook then, and I literally came away from that and said to Rick, I said, we need a spot for podcasters, we need a spot for events, we need a spot for gallery shows, we need auction, we need like that artist tab at the top should be, like, the collectors will have their own tab, so you can scroll through the collectors as well and see what they collect and go on your own little research. But the idea is ultimately to have all of those things featured on there: artists, podcasters, events, spaces, the full
creators of value, just creators of value. I mean, and musicians, photographers, they're artists. They are artists, but in general, like, you're going out, you're creating content, you're creating something of value, and it's of value to the NFT space. Then we want it. We want that. We want to be able to share that, because there's going to be information on the artists on there, and props to the people like yourself that are actually putting the work into to kind of collate that information and go out and speak to people. So, that's a really important part of the ecosystem that we want to support as well. So all that, we want all that on.
One thing we both mentioned education, which is a massive thing that I think is spoken about, but I think it's blocking and stopping people from entering the space. Lack of education, lack of understanding, no clarity in what NFTs are, because I always say, everyone tries to explain what an NFT is, but they don't understand what a blockchain is. They're not really going to understand the possibilities and why would you create an NFT. So everyone needs to cover all areas. But another thing I see that no one talks about is best practices, and that's hindering the space, as we've seen with people being scammed and all sorts. So is there going to be an area for that also, if there isn't security? Best practices.
I'm not sure how much. Well, you know what? Well, it's Web3. Let's share some information.
Well,
so
before you do, because I know what you're going to say, just to slip in there, the blog section on the site will be specifically designed for education, like marketing tips for artists, collectors, and things like this. But what Rick's going to tell you about now is a different beast.
Go on, Rick. Share the news.
So, I mean, I don't know if this is what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. So, currently getting together like a flow chart of where you start out in the end. Is this what you thought I was going to say, Meelo? I don't know. Yeah, so we're getting together a flow chart of how things go step by step, and from there we're going to kind of build out and make almost like a course for people to work through. That's the kind of in the ideation phase at the moment, but I feel like it's really, really handy to kind of go, right, this is where I'm at. Okay, what's a blockchain? Simple explanation for what a blockchain is, answer a couple of questions, then move on to your next phase. Like what are your types of blockchain if you want to go down that path, but kind of mapping things out like that, and then that's something you can kind of skip back to and think, well, where does that sit in the journey? This is it. But it's very early days with this and we're just building it out. But these are the kind of things that, we're not just looking to get some artists and list them on a site and hopefully some collectors get it. We're really aiming towards our time and energy is going into educating people and creating strong foundations for everyone that we work with.
Okay. Go on.
Which is a little bit the alpha. He missed a little bit out, but we're basically prepping all of this stuff now to be able to bring it into a physical space, to have people sitting in front of us, sitting in front of our staff, and using these manuals, using this infrastructure that we're putting together right now to have like workshops, physical workshops, and things like this. Again, it's just at the moment it's work in progress, so we won't stick anything out there in set in stone. But the fact of the matter is, like, this is what, like, naturally me and Rick have found this this chunk of ourselves that we almost didn't know was there. Is that, like, we're here to grow, we're here to build, but we enjoy fucking helping people at the end of the day. Like, we really do. When we're having meetings with people in real life and they're like, so what do you guys do? Like, we enjoy telling them, and it's not because we're driving around in Lamborghinis, it's because, like, this technology is so amazing that, like, whether you attach it to art or even like security to get through doors and things, like, we understand how big this is going to be. So we enjoy telling people about it, which I'm sure you enjoy talking to people about it. And it's the same sort of thing as, when we're working on the physical space. This is what we want to be doing. Like, we want to be educating children. Do you know what I mean? Like, teenagers are saying, like, you guys are going to be working in this industry, so you better understand what a blockchain is at 16 years old, because when you get to 30, this is what you're going to be dealing with every single day. Do you know what I mean? So we're not only trying to prime artists and collectors to, little tips for collectors to find great artists and vice versa, but for one of the biggest focuses of DropHook is to allow new people to come into the space and not only have a safe place to shop or to source, basically, but also a place to learn and understand that, like, NFTs are not banana men. Do you know what I mean? These are not like they're not all donkeys, man. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is, if you want to come here and take it seriously and you collected physical art in the real world, we're here to help you understand, like, what this beast is and how you're going to manage to get yourself involved. Because last year in the barbershop, it was kind of easy. This year, it's like you're seeing the charts don't up, dive down. Oh, well, I don't know. Now it's a lot more risky. Like, it's very easy to onboard someone when they can buy ETH today and make $100 tomorrow. But when it's down and when it's, it's not working now, is it though? You know what I mean? So it's like, we're trying to come up with as many possible options as we can to make it easier for people to get into the space and enjoy it, just like we've been doing. We've had our ups and downs, mate, but ultimately it's been fun and life changing, man. Not only financially, but also, more importantly, like, we've now found our paths in life of, like, right, okay, this is, for the most part, this is what we're doing right now. We've been digital marketers and artists and this and that, and this is a place where you can really home in on all of those skills that you've used throughout your whole career and use them to your advantage. So yeah, man, it's exciting stuff.
I want to add a bit more about the, if you can.
For sure.
The gallery. So is that
something
you can talk about? You can let us know a bit more about that.
We'll do some base level information.
Yeah, okay. Right.
It's located in Manchester. It's fucking huge, very, very big. It's got 2 floors, man. We're building a gallery and a lot of working space. We'll have our own DropHook offices in there as well. But I think one of the most exciting things for us is, obviously we'll have a space, and it's developing the space for Web3. We're trying to turn it into this, a Web3 hub that people can come and learn about Web3, as well as, hosting these things. But for us, it's exciting to have DropHook next to the gallery. Like our offices are inside the gallery and DropHook are separate entities, but we're partner. Well, we're owners of it, so we're going to be partnering up the platform with the gallery and basically using a lot of the art that's put onto the platform to feed the gallery. So coming onto DropHook again, this level of exposure that we're trying to give to people won't just be just on the site. Like we're trying to, anything that you put onto our digital website, we're trying to translate into physical to be able to show people like, this is your art. You know what I mean? Like this, when you come to DropHook, we're not only going to show it to collectors, we're going to show it to normal people as well. Do you know what I mean? To really try and bridge that gap. So that's about as much as I'll say. We're not too far off, weeks and weeks and weeks turn into months and months and months. But listen, again, we've got a lot on, mate. I'm an artist, Rick's a collector. We've got DropHook, we're building the platform, we're getting the infrastructure sorted, we've got staff, we're building the gallery. Like, we don't sleep, bro. Do you know what I mean? So there's only so much we can do and say.
Rick, how important is it for an artist to actually physically view these things? Because I always question, okay, it's great having it on these screens, it's good, but I mean, how comes we're not? I mean, I'm looking forward to see more immersive tech, the VR, the AR, that the art coming into real life and having that immersive experience within the gallery. I mean, is that something you're looking to do potentially in the future? I know I might be looking ahead, but is that something you guys?
I think it's important, and like there was a guy I followed last night. I'll send you who it was when it just grabbed my eyes. But basically, like playing with the space, using digital to play with the physical space, and it's great having these things on a Samsung tele that's been turned on its side, and you have to keep pressing the remote to keep it on. That was a very 2021 flex. So let's move on a bit from that now and evolve. Like, I just want to. I just want to start working with artists to kind of play with that space and see what we can come up with. And it is good. It is, to see a piece of art, digital art on a wall that you can step back and really absorb. I think it's important, man. It's nice, and it's kind of to put the two side by side. It helps people as well that are new to NFTs to see it on the wall, and I think we're going to see in people's homes where, there's going to be digital screens that have the art flicking through, like hit a button and it changes your whole wall to a different piece of art. And I think it's going to tie in that transition, which a lot of this is. Another great thing that I'm looking forward to doing with the space is showing people, because we're going to have physical art there. We've already spoke to a couple of physical artists. So we're going to have their pieces there anyway. It's not all going to be digital. But to put the two side by side, and say, and again, like what we were saying earlier, is like the idea is the art, and anything after that's labor and materials. So the end result to your left is a piece of digital art on this screen, and the piece to your right is a physical piece of art, and both of them can be backed by NFT, the NFT, the underlying tech, because that is the limit. That is the pros and cons are. That's the limitations of the NFT. Do you know what I mean? That's their part in the journey, is the digital provenance. So that can be applied to both worlds. So I think you show someone that in front of the face, like it makes my job a lot easier.
Yeah. While you were talking about the gallery side, I was just thinking it'd be cool. I don't think it even exists, so it's possible. But if you had like an open gallery, so you had screens up there or whatnot, or if you could implement augmented reality and people would walk in and their wallets would connect and the art would be showcased. As long as you're in the gallery, your art will be showcased within the gallery. So artists will turn up to showcase their work and they'll be reflected on all the screens.
Anything's possible, brother.
Love it. So we need to have more conversations on this.
We'd have the whole scene lining up at the door, bro.
I love it. I do love it. Like, you could literally get the wallets as people are coming in and then just be cherry picking out and going, "Oh, this is good. This is such and such." Yeah. Just
and you get a bunch of collectors in there, and the work just rotating, and your work comes up, and you're like, "Oh, there's my work," and so on, and like everyone gets to appreciate each other's work as long as your wallet's collected. Or on the flip side, as a collector, you get to showcase what you've collected.
So that's it. Yeah.
This is a massive point that Rick keeps drilling into me. He's like, it's all right that artists get to show the work, but what about the collectors? Like they need to like flex as well. Like they need to show off, like, because what's the point? Like, you're gonna buy something and hide it underneath the floorboard. No one's gonna see it. It's like you want to shout about it as well. So this is the joy of, like, this is why we haven't really announced the gallery or anything like this, because these ideas are like still transforming in our minds, and it's like, if we couple it with the release of DropHook, it seems like the same thing. It's like there's big wins to be had on like us, moving into the gallery and implementing these new techniques. And for the curators, that the guys who get the tokens, who will be making the decisions on DropHook, it's like when we have events, like this is who they're going to be for. Do you know what I mean? Like when we've got 100, let's just again a random number, but 100 like curators who are purely collectors, then we'll have collectors night. You know what I mean? And it's like we'll book out some hotels, and you come over, and they will be like, right, okay, if you're on the list, your art will get flipped. You don't know where it's going to be, but you wander around and find out, oh, is that your piece? No, that's my piece. Yeah. Oh, it's it. That is. Who's that from? And I think these are the things that not only can exist in the metaverse, which is, something else we're working on, but also the physical space of like when me and you chatting in London, mate, do you know what I mean? We're so familiar now. Do you know what I mean? We've only met each other once and we're so familiar. And I think for where the gallery is located, super close to the airport, bang in the middle of the UK, pretty central in Europe, where the globe is, you know what I mean, for Americans and people like super far east. But like there's loads to be done in connecting people and pushing this technology and space forward, like in a real room of like, oh, I'm telling my chick, I went to that NFT event last night. I was like, oh, how was it? It's the exact same as me sitting on my computer, but when I'm sitting on my computer, it's like I'm doing nothing. So, what have you been doing today? I was sitting on your computer all day. So it's like, I think this is something that the space needs to grow in itself, just to get out of your fucking bedrooms, bro, and go and meet some people. You get me? So
I couldn't agree more, man. Like in real life events is so important. Like meeting people, you can't take that side away. Like meeting people, building relationships, having conversations, and just to add to the collectors showing off their pieces, like that creates conversations. Like I can tell you a story. That time when I went to when I met you in Manchester, I wanted to find out who Kid 8 was.
Yeah.
So and I literally told Dave, I was like, you can tell me who it is. He's like, nah, he's here, but I can't tell you who it is. And the reason why I met him is because I had my Board 8 t-shirt on, and he came up to me, and started speaking to me, and then we kind of that's it. But that's it's only because of that connection we had, and he seen what I had on. That was the conversation starter. I think that's just amazing that how people can connect through different things. And I think that's something that needs to be tapped into. Collectors, people connecting on what's in their wallets and whatnot.
It's also like, bro, when I made my Twitter account in November 2020, because I'd never done socials before, really, because I'd just been working in the shadows for the labels and stuff like this. And I'm sure, bro, for like the first 6 months, people thought I was a chick. And then like I turn up and I'm like a big, tall fucking dude with a beard and that. And people are like, oh, you're Meelo. And they're like, what? Like I thought the because I didn't have a guy on my avatar. It was just a gem, like the top of a diamond. And it was like people didn't know. And it was like when people realized like who I was, I'm like, oh, you're a real person. Like, do you know what I mean? It's like so many more people then reached out on Twitter and engaged with me a lot more on the internet. Like people like other artists. Like artists are a weird breed, man. A lot of them aren't very like sociable. Like keep things to themselves. And it's like Vector Maldrew and there's the Carlway and D-Face and these guys, man. Like we're very chilling, having lunch with them, and this it's so comfortable. Do you know what I mean? And I think like when you're online, it's very hard to cherry pick those people and say he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. He's not here for. He's not trying to twist my arm for like something. Do you know what I mean? So that when you can sit down with these people, have a chat with them, seeing them in a similar environment for who they are, it makes that family a lot more closer. And that's what we're trying to do with DropHook. Like the curation tokens, me and Rick have had conversations about everyone who gets a curation token, we might be able to book some flights out for our events and stuff. And it's like, imagine you're part of something where you're in America, but the event's going on in the UK, and the guys they're ringing you saying like, "Can we book you a flight to come to the UK?" Like, we want you to be a part of that family. So when you go back, you're like, "Yo, these guys in the UK, like, they're connecting people. They're trying to do this. They've got the gallery. They've got the platform. It's coming from a good place." You know what I mean? Where on the internet, it's very hard to find out where this stuff's coming. As we found, like, just to timestamp it last night, we found out that the guy who created Azuki was also the guy behind Free Pump and Dumps, and it's like,
did you see that, Rick? That's crazy.
Like, I've seen the chat. I've seen. I know something was being alluded to, and it's just like, here we go again.
I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the case of the transparency. He wanted to be open. I don't know if he wanted to get it off his chest. I mean, is it good? Is it? I don't know. Like, it's.
Well, I think what it. Well, I'll sign off on this because we've got to shoot soon. We've got another meeting. But like, for me, what it shows is how naive the people who buy this stuff actually are. Like, the guy had done 3 rugs and then pulled out a good project that looked all right, and everyone's like, yeah. And then all of a sudden now, because of yesterday, they're like dropping Hazukis, and it's like, bro, like, you've been invested in. You went to the show, and like, everyone checked their wallets when they did the bean drop, and like, he's been doing a good job, you know what I mean? And it's like, if he wanted to get that off the chest to test his community, then his community just failed. Like, I'm not putting any, doing rugs and stuff is, the reason why the game's fucked, basically, do you know what I mean? To a degree, but for his community to like be involved in it and not see it and then like make a decision based off like one thing, like, the guy hasn't, like, I guess he has committed some sort of crime, but like not against humanity, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, the
how bad is it? How bad is it? Is it literally like he was pulled out and out rugs?
Yeah,
on people,
3 of them,
like literally, like, well,
don't quote me, but he did funks, and he did something else that looked a bit like a turd. I can't remember what it was.
But he could argue, look, I did a rug pull, but I invested it back into the community to create this big project.
I'm sure the people who bought the original 3 will be over the moon with that news.
I think this is what I'm saying to you, though. It's like, the guy has been honest. He could never told nobody, but the fact of the matter is that the people who bought it off the bat and have been turning up to the NFT events like, oh, Zuki's, like, you haven't done your due diligence to understand that. So now that he said this, don't run off with the flag like you always knew, because you didn't. Do you know what I mean? So like, play the part of like, it is what it is. But yeah, man, this is the market we're trying to avoid these people, and our background checks on artists are pretty vigorous. We're trying to find out what these guys are about and who they are and what they do. You know what I mean? Not to delve into their personals too much, but to find the bad actors and the medium actors and the great actors, so we can reward these people for growing. People like yourself, you know what I mean? Like, there's 100 of you on Instagram right now, Sean. I'm sure like all these guys who were talking into the camera about NFTs and giving people advice, and 99% of it's bullshit, bro. And like, people like you are cutting through the noise and speaking to real people like us and other great artists, so we want to reward you and what you're doing. So as a rule of thumb, this is what we're about, man. So growing.
Just to round it off, I know we cut for time. One question just to round it off. I'm going to give it to Rick.
Yeah.
So Rick, 10 years from now, I want you to explain to me, how does your morning look with the NFT world? Like, where does NFTs play its part within you, whether it's you're traveling or whether it's going to events? Just wake up in the morning, explain, what does the world look like? I want to give it first person explanation.
All right, so let's say before we go 10 years forward.
10 years, okay, go on.
Yeah, before we do that, let's go maybe 20 years back.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. The internet's what we in 93, 94. Yeah, so about 20 years back, around that time. The internet's just starting to come about. Yeah. People are like, what the fuck is the interweb? Browsing, is it spiders? What's this? What's that? I don't understand it. It's never going to catch on. That's where we're at now with NFTs and crypto. That's where we're at. We're 20 years ago. So 10 years from now, it'll be pretty hard to move from A to B without interacting with countless NFTs.
I want to tell me, you tell me, I wake up in the morning, I do these, I do that. That's what I'm asking for.
Jesus, I don't know what's happening next week. I don't know what's happening in 10 years. Like, I hope there's sand involved. Hopefully there's some sand involved, like the beach, I can be a digital nomad and just pick my laptop up and crack on with some work. But I don't know. But what I can tell you is there's going to be a shitload of NFTs involved. And that's from like jumping in my car, and that's from making a purchase. This is that and the other. So who knows the specifics, but there's going to be a lot of NFTs involved.
I love that, man. I love that. Well, thanks, guys, for coming on. Like, I've loved the conversation. So much gems. I look forward to the platform dropping. Very interesting. So obviously, when obviously it drops and everything's out there, we'll probably look to get you on again or do something that we can highlight it.
Good.
Bring some artists.
And vice versa. Let's get you on DropHook. let's get
100%, man.
let's
Like,
get them.
let's have that conversation. Definitely have that conversation. But thank you for everyone listening. Actually, in fact, where can everyone find you? Like, just before we wrap it up.
On Twitter, /Meelo Art, or one thing, or /DropHook_ someone who can't name. We'll get that back. Don't worry.
We're coming for you.
Rick, your socials?
Yeah, at Weeby NFT. That's WEBEE NFT on Twitter. I think it's just, I've not got an Instagram yet, but yeah, that's catch me on Twitter. I know. Well, yeah, Instagram's the boomer move, to be honest with you, mate.
Guys, thanks for coming on. I hope everyone's loved listening and watching. So everyone stay listening and stay blessed.